Hello, this is Frank Favaro, president and founder of Serve-Centric Coaching, and I'm super excited to be sponsoring the Undeniable podcast. When we talk about business today, everyone's looking to create an advantage. But how do you find it? Everything is copied with technology. Innovation is hard to come by. We can find it with customer experience. The experience that you provide to your customers and to your employees determines the value you bring to the marketplace. We will create a plan for you that will get your business to the next level. You can find us at www.serve-centric.com. That's serve-centric. Serve, S-E-R-V-E -centric, C-E-N-T-R-I-C.com. And you can reach me personally at 330-715-5361. Thank you.
It's Coach Cimoroni for Blood Time and Undeniable, but Blood Time today. And I've got a longtime friend who I coached back in the late 70s, early 80s, David Mills. How the hell are you, brother, man?
Good, Coach. Man, when you called, I was so excited and just had goosebumps just coming and talking to you again. It's you know what I think of you. So it was a pleasure for the call. It's a pleasure,
man. It's mutual. Well, I'm so happy to have you on here. And you've done so much, not only in the business world, but also in the wrestling world. And you wrestled for Beechwood and went down, I believe, to OU, met the legend, the crazy man, Harry Huska, and did some crazy stuff down there. But really, you've taken it to the next level with the team that you've created, the clubs and some of the people that you've graduated out of that club, the clubs and the levels in Fargo and Nationals, etc. Tell me a little bit about what those formative years meant to you at Beechwood, and what did you do with that and why?
Well, I was an okay wrestler. I was decent, but I was on a great team with two great coaches. We had you and we had Coach I and
the legend.
The legend. And all I did is I emulated. I was a sponge and emulated what you guys did. I also lucked out and got a little bit of time with some other coaching and some Coach Bluebot, some other guys, and I took a lot of what they did. I learned early on I had the smallest, shortest, strongest arms of all time, so I couldn't get into really great. So I learned how to coach, and like I said,
position, right? You learn leverage, you learn position.
I learned leverage, yeah. And so
I taught a thing called economy of motion, David. It's being in the best position for the least amount of work to get the best results. So
exactly,
you're living.
I tell my wrestlers now. I say, it's not great to not. You want to be lazy a little bit. You got to work the whole time, but you want to make sure that, that you're on top controlling and doing the things you need to do and get your breath then. So we talk about that a lot. We talk about that a lot. But formative years, I got a chance to wrestle 4 years. I had a great time there. Like I said, I had the best coaching in the state of Ohio for 4 years. And before that, even in middle school, I got a chance to go up to high school to wrestle. And, I was with Kevin Kravitz and Keith Kravitz last week, 2 weeks ago, and it was kind of fun just talking back, all the stuff we went through. So best team I ever was a chance to get to play with.
Well, we had a lot of fun and a lot of characters, but man, wow, who we had there, right? We had Sternberg and we had Weiss. We had Stu Smiley, we had Richie Harris, the crazy man. God bless.
Yes.
We had
Tolan, we had Goldberg, we had
Goldberg, Tolan, God rest his soul. Butch Lapsley, God rest his soul. The three amigos are Goldberg, Tolan, and Lapsley. Sadly, Goldberg's the one on the left, and we did a beautiful tribute to Tolles about 6 months ago. That said, so you've got an amazing club down there. Tell me a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in Florida and what's going on with the club, and what was the impetus for starting that?
Yeah, so we started a club, and the original club we closed down about 5 years ago. We had a club called the Dark Knights. It started out as the Knights, and the kids morphed it into the Dark Knights because we kind of stole the Batman symbol and went from there. But it was a great club. We and still remnants of it. It started out as the only game in town in Tampa or in Florida at the time, almost 18 years ago, was Brandon. And if you weren't a Brandon kid, the streak, if you weren't a Brandon kid, you kind of got forgotten. And we started a club. We fought our way through, starting at the YMCA. Then we got some time. We got a mat. We tied ourselves to a place called Freedom High School, but we were taking anybody in the new Tampa or in the area of Tampa. Tampa's got some good wrestling now. Some of the kids that we took out of there, some of the kids that we were able to take out of there were, I know you've got one of them right now at Ohio State. You've got Nick Basakis, and we had Anthony Artelona at Penn. So we had two number oneers in different areas. We were able to take out of there, and they made the room better. I found that if you get one kid, two kids, the rooms get better. And really the reason the club started, I am all of 5'0". And both of my sons are my one son made it. He's about 5'7". My other son's probably about 5'4". And we were playing football, and we sat there and said, we've got to do something. My one son came to me. It was just about high school time. He was, I think, 14. He said, "Dad, what about wrestling?" My heart just blew out of my chest, and I said, "Let's go. So, so if you want to know how it truly started, that's what happened. And we went to 4 or 5 clubs.
What's your son's name?
Oh, Ryan. So Ryan Mills and Aaron Mills, both incredible wrestlers. One of them state placed, went to state multiple times and did a great job. The other one was the most winningest wrestler at his high school, and did a great job promoting it for the sport.
That's awesome. So that's fantastic. Yeah, because Florida really wasn't a hotbed. Although my boy Jojo Bertolone, the first national champion, John Carroll, down in Hollywood, he was doing his stuff down in Southeast Florida. So there's pockets there, and you've created a pretty dynamic pocket there.
Yeah, and we've thrown out over 120 kids to colleges.
Wow.
Everything from D1 down. And we've produced a lot of kids, and I used to laugh because when we did the conferences and all that, this side of it was either Brandon High School or Lake Gibson High School, and this side was all the kids from my club. So it kind of was a fun thing. And so now I'm actually coaching at a place called the Mayhem Wrestling Club, which is someone you may know, Willie Murphy. He's a Ball State grad, and he's a kid from up in Columbus, Ohio, and I've jumped in with him, working with him.
Gotcha. So, I was talking to Hal Tolan, obviously, after we did the tribute to Jeff, and his sons did really well in Indiana. And they were hooking up with a lot of the top shelf guys in Indiana. So it's really cool to hear that, because my sons were artists. They never stepped foot on the mat, and to some degree, Scott Peters, same thing, right? He just kind of dabbled in the sport. So to have two sons to do that is just fantastic, and it makes me really happy for you, David.
Yeah, and they both had college offers. Both of them actually did the trips and then turned down the offers because the degrees. Luckily, my wife is a very intelligent, very smart person, and she's also a hammer. And they both one's an engineer and one's in charge of a tech company. So they both kind of, one of them is a rocket scientist. He won't say it out loud for Honeywell, that does the rocket ship propulsion. So so they needed those degrees more than they needed the wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day too. When you're wrestling, if you're wrestling D2, D3 primarily, you could be more of a activity, if you will. Even at that level, though, it's still intense. But D1, it's a job. I mean,
it's a job. It's a job,
and so it's very difficult. Although I interviewed Yoshi Nakamura and Haruki Nakamura, and those guys went to Penn and they're killing it, and they were all Americans. Well, Haruki wasn't, but he played in the NFL. You know,
Right.
so I'm actually Haruki, I think, went to Cincinnati, but Yoshi went to Penn, and there's a lot of guys that wrestled at Penn. And I just did a valuation for my company with a guy who wrestled for Columbia, you know, and
Wow.
he's one of the top valuation guys in the state. So can't be done.
Yeah, you can get the degree, you can do what you need to do. You know, you have to know, you know, I had great coaches, but he once said to me, you know, you could do 2 things at college and there's 3 things to do. One of them's education. You've heard this probably. One of them's education, one of them's social, and one of them is sport. You can't do all 3 well. So you gotta, you know, there are those kids that can, but I wasn't one of them.
I hear you, man. Loud and proud. Yeah, I went to college to get my degree. So as soon as I blew out my knee, I went to help you guys and coach. That's how I ended up being a coach. And at the end of the day, it's a beautiful thing, right? Coaching is there's nothing like it.
You know, Pete, it's more, I got more out of coaching than any other sport, you know, any other item, because you live through them. I remember being at the Disney Duels finals, and, you know, you got a team of, first year, I told you this when we kind of talked before, but I had the Bad News Bears, which we called the best of the bums. Yeah. And, you know, we went with summer weights. I had all placers. We went with summer weights. We kind of lost along the process. You know, we lost and then took our line, you know, when you go across the line. And, you know, they were great kids. And I still talked to almost every single one of them. The next year we did a boot camp. We did everything we got. I think we ended up something 9th or 10th in the country out of 140-ish teams. But we also, the thing that was great was these kids pulled each other through. Yeah. And then, you know, we always talk about that moment, and it's at that blood round when I think the coach has the most discretion to bring a kid through by their will, you know, by the will from the coach. You know, you don't put up with it. I remember fighting my way through, God, I don't know how many, we had 14 matches times 2 teams. So 14 times 13 times however matches. I was dead to the world, but I had to pull a kid through at the end of a night, like 10 o'clock at night. We had to pull him through, and we did.
Yeah, one of the greatest at first successes for me was getting Stu Smiley to the state tournament, because he had lost to the same guy at the blood round at the exact same tournament, obviously the district, and he beat him, that guy, and that was the senior year. And then he ends up taking third to Zimmer after he lost the first round, won 5 straight. What a kid. You know, what a
That's
kid.
Amazing.
So,
That's amazing. I find the blood round is the one that, you know, I know we call it that, but, you know, trying to pull those kids through when the lights are on them and all that, you gotta get them back into just wrestling mode, right?
Absolutely. No question about it. And I wanted to explore a little bit about your business career too, and what wrestling meant to that after the break. But we got to take a break. We got to pay homage to the people that keep me being able to do this. All right. So this is Coach Cimoroni for Blood Time and Undeniable. This is David Mills, my man. We'll be right back after the break.
Infinite Search Solutions, recruitment and placement search services at its finest. Northeast Ohio's premier, easy, fast, and simple way to find the great and perfect candidate that you deserve. Matt Burns and his incredible team at Infinite Search Solutions are terrific. We are proud to have them as a sponsor. Reach out to Matt at 440-249-0485 or at their website, www.in-finite.com.
And we're back. This is David Mills, my man, wrestling for Beechwood, for OU, and now doing all kinds of great things down in Florida. David, tell me a little bit about your business world, what you're doing. I know you're running companies. You're running a company doing great stuff down in Tampa. But how did this sport really inspire you, and who inspired you to be that businessman that you are today?
You know, I think the key, well, first of all, I'm part owner. There's 3 of us, but I'm part owner of a company called Age Well Solvair. We run senior livings around around the country. We're in 7 states. I'm going to say something funny. I'm going to say we're 23, 24-ish because, we're always growing. We have, we just merged with another company, and built it. And I think the biggest thing I can tell you that wrestling gave me was the will not to stop. I'm a relatively small person, and I still weigh 126 pounds, 6 pounds. I don't believe in giving up. I don't believe that there's a time that you have to give up. I think I'm even better than I was then because, if you work a problem and you work the problem through. So to answer your question, I think you guys gave me that, but my father was a tough guy that, started as a bus and ended up as in charge of part of a company. So I just think that you got to pull your way through,
Tenacity.
You get the words.
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm a big believer. It's interesting. I've been raising capital for my avocado company, right?
Yeah.
And so I just talked to actually a classmate of yours. I won't mention his name, but he came in on the round and he looked at it. He ended up not investing, but called me yesterday and he said, "How you doing?" I go, "Listen, this is the only way this doesn't happen is if I'm in the grave."
And that's not going to happen.
And it's not going to happen. And he goes, "I got you." I said, "So get on board or get out of the way, baby." So I love Tenacity. Yeah. Well, I've interviewed so many guys, right? Barry Broom, one of my guys from John Carroll, he said the same thing. He's running the Greater Sacramento Economics Council. It's the number one economics council in the country. It's because of Barry Broom. He won't stop. He just will not stop. And I just love that tenacity. And I love that drive. But also, too, what I've learned from our sport is we learn how to figure it out. If a problem or something is thrown in our way, we don't just run through it. We figure it out how to get it better, right? Or how to do it better, right? So tell me a little bit about the innovations that are happening at your living company.
So, I think we've added a lot of technology, but I also go back and look at just, the thing that we're fighting right now in the country, which I don't want to go politics, but we're fighting a little bit of apathy. Sure. And, apathetic minds. So what we do is we try to put things in place that take that away. And what I mean by that is scheduling people differently, right. Like 3/12s versus 5/8s, 8-hour shifts, trying to make sure that people have the tools that they need. I spend a lot of time and I come from a culinary world, which means that somewhere between college and Marriott's corporate chef, I became a chef and started to work through it. But then I look back and said, hey, I'm not going to be an old chef. I'm not going to be a gray-haired chef because they seem to be broken in my world. So, they're broken guys. Yeah. So we went back with the finance, background and took it from that and kind of went that way. But I think to answer your question, the innovations really, we don't turn anything down. I'm actually speaking this next week on Tuesday at a financial conference talking about what we think the innovations in our next route. And most of it right now is how we finance these buildings, because they've gone from double the price now. So, to finance with the rates going up. So it's not as easy as it was 4 years ago.
Are you doing any cost segregation down there?
We are, but most of it, the only thing that we're doing that's a little bit different is, it depends on how we pull equity. So, sure. In some cases, it depends on how we pull equity and if it's standard or not standard. We don't take any government money in any of my buildings, so that's kind of a difference. We want to make sure we're kind of doing our own thing.
Yeah, then sometimes what with the interest rates today now, we got the covenants going a little bit wacky, and yeah, I know, right? It's like, oh dear God, right? And that's interesting too, because what you said about listening to your people, right? The platinum rule is the way I live: do unto others as they wish to be done unto, right? So you're listening, you're being empathetic. Too bad the banks and the Fed aren't listening to us.
Hey, not right now, buddy. Not right now,
right? But anyhow. That said,
I have 4 opening in the next 3 months, and where we start and where they going is going to be 2 different things. So we're gonna need to make some changes. We have to adjust daily. Does that make sense? I mean, we're small enough to.
Oh my God, you have to be nimble, super nimble, and be able to pivot whenever you need to pivot, and then to pivot again. And you end up in the same place. And you're like, what the hell? I just pivoted 10 times and I'm back in the same place. Anyhow, that said, so what's the future for David Mills in the business and wrestling? And so what's the next 5 years look like for you? Buddy?
So wrestling, I'll tell you, it's funny. You and I kind of talked about this, but the female wrestlers are coming on strong. I mean, we just sent a couple to Fargo. Couple weeks ago. I didn't go with him, but Willie ended up taking him as the Florida coach, doing really well. So working with the whole group, young wrestlers, trying to get them going. When I was coaching at USF, it was a little different. I had a lot of USF older kids trying to wrestle and coaching there. But when we flip to the younger ones, I mean, they're wrestling for position. They're wrestling for something, something in the growth. And I like that. So I like the high schoolers. I think they're still because of the love of the sport. That makes sense. And then business, we're looking between mergers and other thing. We're probably going to be somewhere around 40 sometime next year. And when that happens, it'll be, it'll be a little over $500 million business, that we manage for other people. So I'll let you know. It's, my whole life and investment dollars are into this. So it's got to work. If not, I'm coming to hang out with you and I make avocados.
Come on, baby. Guacamole. It's beautiful.
Taking avocados. Yep. I'm with you.
Absolutely. And David, you have a fantastic partner, but you haven't mentioned her name. What's your wife's name?
Her name is Valerie. She and I have been together 32 years. She's, she's my best friend, and met her when she was 17. So she didn't know any better. And that was good because she's way, way, way too pretty for me.
You're a good salesman, brother. God bless you. You close the deal. You close the deal. I love it. We'll give her our best. And it's always, successful people attract successful partners, right? And it's a beautiful thing. And we love to identify that in Undeniable and in Blood Time. And I've got a beautiful partner in Missy, my beautiful wife, now 2 years. She's just dynamite. So I'm blessed. But that said, we've come out of this crazy couple of years of the virus, and we've really had to evolve, man, and innovate and pivot and do all those things that just get us to the next day, if you will. And so I want to leave the audience always with words of inspiration or motivation, or just how can we get better, if you will. And so I'm going to turn it over to you, David, is just to leave the audience with some things.
I think you have to be thankful for what you have. I think you have to be thankful for the people you get to work with. I mean, in my world, it's more important now who I get to connect with than how much money I'm making. I know you can say that when you think you have enough money, but I think it's more important for my relationships. I know I haven't reached out to guys. I went to the reunion, and reaching back to people that you had in your life and along the way of your life is important. So I think that's important. I forgot to mention I have a beautiful daughter named Jordan too. So let me not forget that. And the boys would not let her wrestle. So let me tell you that.
I love that. Well, that's good. Good brothers. Good brothers.
So brothers.
Absolutely. Well, that's great. So I love that. Just being thankful and mindful of your surroundings and who got you there and who's getting you there, and just everybody that's been in your network. And David, I always loved the whole aura of the 81 team, right? Yeah. This was a fantastic group. And I loved your fire, man. When things didn't go your way, people knew it.
I got mad.
Absolutely. And I love that, though, because just to say, okay, whatever, we don't want people like that. We want people fired up. And I'm sure you bring that same fire to your team and to your business and to your family and to everybody that's associated with you. And I really respect that.
Well, thank you. There's a lot of oranges at Beechwood High smashed against the wall. So I'm with you.
Well, David Mills, thank you for joining us on Undeniable I Have Blood Time, because this is exactly the type of people that we want to give a platform to and for.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate you very much, like usual.
You too, man. Love to you and your family, and good luck. We'll talk soon, babe. Peace.
Thank you. Bye.
Coach Cimoroni from Blood Time. Love to all. We were with David Mills, South Florida. God bless everybody. See you, babe.
I just love the mission at Edwin's. My friend Brandon Krastowski at Edwin's Leadership and Restaurant Institute brings a unique approach at giving formerly incarcerated adults a foundation in the hospitality industry. What a marvelous mission. Thank you, Brandon, for bringing these wonderful people back into productive society. Every human being, regardless of their past, has the right to a fair and equal future. Give them a try, because their food is magnificent. Their service is first rate, and Brandon is a true Cleveland light. EdwinsRestaurant.org. We love you.